We have to get this right. We have a lot of people that are going to rely on the federal government and all of the processes to work to get it right. I want to take my time, however, to talk about something else, and I do it only because the opportunity is available, and I feel like I must do it at this point. Commissioner Adelstein, you're here representing the Commission, and I was, in these days of YouTube, I was given the transcript yesterday of something one of the other commissioners had said. I'm going to quote it in part. The chairman, this is another commissioner, the chairman just announced a new schedule to have an order out by December 18th on media ownership. We are hopefully going to wrap up our localism and media ownership hearings here in the next month or so, according to the chairman's schedule, with some more opportunity for public comment before perhaps a December order. My understanding of what that suggests is that Chairman Martin perhaps has decided internally to begin a media ownership proceeding that would end in December of this year. Now, I know that has not been made public that I'm aware of. Can you shed any light on that? Is that something you have knowledge of internally?
Well, since you're asking here in Congress, I have to answer. It is an internal thing. One of my colleagues did mention it at a previous event. So there has been an effort to try to wrap up the media ownership proceeding by the end of the year, by December. I'm not sure why the focus is on that date. To me, the issue is much more the substance of the matter than it is the process. I think there's a lot of issues we need to get done before we wrap this up.
The issue of media ownership, the last time, by the way, just to refresh our memories, the last time the Commission did this, they decided in the largest American cities, it was perfectly fine for the Federal Communications Commission rule for one entity to own in the largest American cities 8 radio stations, 3 television stations, the cable company, and the dominant newspaper, and that was just fine. Well, I'll tell you what, it sure ain't fine with me, and it wasn't fine with the majority of the United States Senate that voted on an amendment that I offered along with Senator Lott, which in effect was a vote on a legislative veto. But I would say this, Commissioner, if this is where the FCC is headed, and again, I was quoting something, I think, by Commissioner McDowell. If, in fact, the chairman has indicated that he intends to do media ownership by December of this year, there's going to be a firestorm of protests, and I'm going to be carrying the wood. We're going to have a big debate about this. The last time the Commission tried to do that with a majority that was going to just run roughshod over everything, including not having adequate hearings. Now, they have had more hearings this time, to be sure. But there has not been a conclusion on localism. There's not been a conclusion on the proceedings of public interest. There is not possibly time by December 18th, I think it was, to come out with the new media ownership rules out of the FCC and give any fairness to any group of people in this country to have the opportunity to comment on rules. This is a big deal. We have way too much concentration of ownership in this country now, way too much. And the suggestion that we should allow greater concentrations of television station owners, greater concentration of radio owners. I come from a state in which one company bought all 6 radio stations in one of our little towns. One company. And then to boot, let's throw in cross-ownership and let newspapers buy up radio and TV stations buy up newspapers. We'll all have a great time. Well, I'll tell you what, I think that's counterproductive to the public interest in this country. And I don't mean to be lecturing you, Mr. Adelstein. I know how you have voted on these issues. But I do want to say this to the Commission. And I'm hoping, Mr. Chairman, that we might have an early hearing, because I only learned of this, that the Chairman apparently is deciding to move at a full gallop now, from now till December, on something that's unbelievably important to this country. I hope we might do an early hearing.
You can call them.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. This is very important. There are a handful of companies in this country that determine in most circumstances what we see, hear, and read. About 6. And we don't need further concentration. We need greater localism. We need greater responsibility and public interest, responsibilities that attach to licenses. And I know that there are some who disagree with me strongly. There are some on your commission that will lead the way towards the same result that turned out to be so disastrous a few years ago. I said then that it was the most significant cave-in to big interests I've ever seen in my life, in the shortest time, I might add. And, the Senate expressed itself very strongly in opposition to the Commission. the appeals court intervened and remanded it back to the commission. But Mr. Adelstein, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be in any way trying to lecture you about. Well, I guess I was I? Let me apologize. I don't mean to lecture you. I know your feelings about this, but I was flabbergasted the other day to learn that there is now something underway that would end in December and come out with all of these new media rules. This is unbelievably important. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask you the question. Sorry to do it in the context of the issue that's before us, because that issue is very important as well. My colleague, Senator McCaskill and Senator Stevens and others have asked the important questions about access and knowledge and information and so on. So I feel better now. Thank you very much.
I feel great too. I think it's important, the priorities that you've laid out here. Certainly, in terms of the process, what's more important is the substance. There are issues of localism that we've had pending since 2003, and we've done nothing to enhance local service, responsiveness to local communities. So we need to do that first before we act on media ownership rules. We've done nothing to deal with issues of concern to minorities and women who own pitifully small numbers of broadcast outlets in this country, and yet we've tried to eliminate the only rule that helped, and we've done nothing to try to improve that process. I think that needs to be done first. Public interest obligations have been pending since 1999 with no action. All of these things are gathering dust on the shelves of the FCC. I think before we move forward on the issue of media ownership, we need to address these issues in order of priority. And clearly these are higher priorities for the Commission traditionally and for this committee traditionally.
Well, let me thank Senator Inouye for his determination to hold a hearing. I very much appreciate that. I think that is in order.